Oh, hi, it's your old buddy Zoo here, and today we're having an identity crisis. Well, not me, I'm Zoo, but this, the OneXSugar, is having an identity crisis. Is it a high-end DS and 3DS device? Is it a candy bar device with a secondary screen? Is it secretly here on a mission to gather Energon to take back this Cybertron? We don't know. But what I do know is if you try to be a jack of all trades, most of the time you're going to end up being a master of none. And that's particularly evident in this niche hobby of retro handhelds. It's very rare that we get something that is perfect for every use case. And a lot of that boils down to aspect ratios and form factors. If you use a real wide screen for Game Boy Advance and PSP, then a lot of times your 4x3 or your Game Boy games start to suffer. On the other side, if you go for old school controls but you overpower your chip, you end up with something like this, the Retroid Classic, which is like putting a souped up V8 inside of a Chevy Cavalier. It's just really overpowered for what you need it for. It's a balancing act, right? And unfortunately, the OneXSugar here it's pretty clumsy. It got up on the balance beam, slipped, fell right onto its crotch. So I guess if you want suspense, you want me to drag it out, I've ruined the video for you. I've revealed my true feelings in the introduction. I can't help it. I have to be honest, especially about something like this. It's not very good. Now, there are a lot of cool ideas with this handheld, and you can do a lot of cool and interesting things, but I'm really, really hesitant to tell someone to drop $600 on this device when it has so many flaws, and it has so many compromises and half measures. We don't like half measures. That's that bald guy from Breaking Bad. No more half measures. You hear me, 1X? No more half measures. Anywho, let's get to the Zoo review of the OneXSugar. The OneXSugar is powered by a Snapdragon G3 Gen3 chip, and it's backed up by 16 gigabytes of RAM, so we are extremely high-end power-wise. You will be able to emulate anything that has an Android emulator, and you can run all of your Android games at whatever resolution or graphic fidelity you want. It has two OLED screens, which is pretty amazing. You've got a 6-inch OLED screen as your main guy. It's 18 by 9, which is just a little bit bigger than 16 by 9. I'm not sure where they sourced it from, but it works fine for all your widescreen stuff. And then this second screen on the bottom here is that same 3.92-inch OLED screen we've seen a lot of recently. This is the same exact screen that they use in the Retroid Classic here. There's apparently a huge stock of these from the old LG Wing, and a couple companies, Retroid and 1X here, are tapping in. This bottom screen is 31 by 27, which seems weird as hell, but it works out to being very close to an 8 by 7 aspect ratio. It's ideal for anything you would play on an old CRTV, so think NES all the way through PlayStation 2. This device has 4 modes according to the website. So first off, the first mode we have here is the single screen horizontal mode, which is how it ships, and you're looking at a super boxy horizontal device with a 6-inch screen. It's not super ergonomic. You have your triggers and everything where it's supposed to be, but it's very squared off. I wouldn't say this is hyper comfortable. Mode 2 here is single screen vertical, and I'm not going to 1XSugar code it. This is stupid. This is like very stupid. Mode 3 is DS mode. Almost pinched myself. You have your wide screen on top and your small screen on the bottom. This is what I would consider to be the primary mode for this. Why else would you buy the OneXSugar if you're not going to go this DS mode? Do you want to spend $600 for that boxy as hell horizontal device? No. And finally, mode 4 is dual screen, but with the tiny screen on top. This is hyper situational. Like maybe you want to watch a TV show on top here while you're playing a game, or you have a map or a walkthrough on top. But again, super situational, super weird. It's not for me, and it's also makes the device extremely top heavy. Like it just wants to fall. I'm gonna try to balance it on my fingers and let go of the top, and it just falls. Now, each of these modes reorients some of the buttons, and it's actually really ingenious how they did it. I'm going to take my hat off for this whole transformer part here, because it's pretty cool. Your power button and your volume button are up here in mode 1, but when you go to mode 3, your DS mode, you can see your power button and your volume are no longer accessible. So where do they go? Well, the volume over here is actually a little wheel, which is pretty cool. See? Woo! And then your power button shifts over here. Kind of neat. And this actually makes a lot of sense when you're switching between modes. So good job, One X player. This is actually pretty clever and pretty neat way to handle this. Let's talk a little bit more about the controls, because this thing has, in my opinion at least, the most pointless D-pad attachment I've ever seen. It is a magnet attachment, and it's designed for you to have a D-pad over here. You transform it. So now these are your buttons. The orientation is flipped. So you want to put this over here. In theory, that's a good idea. In practice, it sucks. It sucks. Like, your controls on this are just, I mean, it's ass. I don't want to be a jerk, but this D-pad is ass. So my immediate first move, I just chucked it away. There's no point for it. You have face buttons, kind of like a Switch. And where the Switch said, we're just going to use these buttons as kind of a separated D-pad, One X player tried to fix it with a magnet. They failed, but I mean, at least they tried something new, but they failed spectacularly. This magnet D-pad is just so clunky. It's so awkward. I really don't like it, and I would strongly suggest that they just do what I did and they lose it altogether. I mean, I have a Switch. I have a Switch too. I've gotten okay with button D-pads. They're not the best, but they're way better than this magnet attachment. Ugh. All that being said, either option on here is going to be just pretty for D-pad-centric games. I tried to play some Game Boy Mega Man on the second screen on top, and it was just such a chore trying not to jump into enemies or to jump from platforms. It's just really, really bad using this D-pad attachment. I mean, I'm accidentally sliding. I'm definitely not trying to slide. I'm trying to go left and right, and I'm just sliding. No matter what orientation you're in, though, the compromised nature of this device always rears its ugly head. In candy bar mode, you've got these shoulders and these triggers that are way too far back. So like, here's your R1. It's just this big chunk, and it's hard to reliably hit because you have to hit it with the inside of your knuckle. And then your R2 and your L2 are extremely small for the size of the device. And it's just kind of hard to consistently hit them. And the overall feel is just clunky. I also really, really hate the fact that the start and select buttons down here are being shared with the quick settings button over here or the Android back button. Separate them. I back out of emulators or I open the quick settings menu constantly while trying to hit start or select. And it's not just like, oh, I'm kind of tired, I hit it the wrong way. A lot of times you have to be on the edge for this to register as start. If you're somewhere in the middle, it's going to press both at the same time. You can see the full heart. Look at that. Now I got some random thing popped up here. Just separate the damn buttons. You're charging me $600. Separate the buttons. Figure it out. Put one up here and one down here. I don't know. Figure it out. Next up is build quality. Now they say this is a prototype. It says prototype here on the back. So I don't want to dump on it too hard. But I got the SD card stuck in the body of the device. Not in the SD reader, but like past the SD reader. In the empty cavity of this device. That's maybe on me. I could have been a little too hasty. Maybe I didn't feel the difference between an SD slot and the loose gap between the slot and air. But it's never a good sign. And then I messaged my sometimes buddy Russell Decor. I said, I tell you what, you will never believe how stupid I am. I got the SD card stuck in the body of the device. I had to pry the screws off and get it open. Whoo, what kind of idiot would do that? And Russ said, hey, you know what? I did the same exact thing. So it's not just me. It's not just me. And there's also random doodads glued to this thing. Like this is a light, and I'm pretty sure these are vents for your fans. But you see these two guys here, and how there's one missing, how there's like a broken stud. It's because your old buddy Zoo was goofing around, and I just tried to turn them with my fingers, like got my thumbnail underneath it, and this one just, it fell off. It broke off. I mean, I could always be a little more gentle, but honestly, I just reviewed a prototype FPGA device made by a single-man operation, and it was higher quality than this. Ugh. I will tell you, the transformer mechanisms are a lot sturdier than I remember from CES. These magnets definitely help, and it's never super floppy. You never feel like it's going to slide out of place. There's a lot of resistance you have to do. The issue is, it's just clunky, and it's also In this mode, which I would never recommend anyone actually do, but in this mode, it's super unbalanced, like it just wants to drop. I feel like I'm harping on this a lot, but I have to, because when you make the kind of compromises that you need to make to have a widescreen device that also, by the way, has a floating secondary screen, your final product is always going to feel kind of half-assed one way or the other. And as Ron Swanson says, never half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing. I don't know, I feel like I'm dumping on this company, and I kind of am, but I think it's justified for this device. I like OneX Player stuff. I have a OneX Player 2 Pro and I love it. I use it as a handheld, but I mostly use it as a portable editing device. If I'm running out of time on a video and I need to knock out one last pass during lunch, that's just what I need. And so I know OneX Player can produce some amazing devices. This just isn't one of them. Ugh. Well, let's get to the whole point of this device, dual screen gaming. We got into DS mode here, and we're gonna go to town on some of my favorite DS and 3DS games. Now, at first glance, it seems like this bottom screen isn't registering any input, and that's because there are only a few whitelisted apps on here that support the full dual screen experience. This is accomplished by your heart button down here, and then you select Fusion mode. And now that I have Fusion mode turned on, I can press the bottom screen and it works. How about that? Now the way Fusion mode works, the way it allows you to have two screens on here, is that it treats both screens as one long screen. So the OneXSugar here thinks that this screen goes right here. Don't believe me? Check this out. Whoa, what's it doing over here? So if you go into something like Citra and you remap your screens and you make sure this guy's expanded a little bit and he's kind of centered on the bottom, you go back up here and you kind of stretch this guy out on top, make sure he's a little bit centered, hit done. Now you have a full 3DS experience. Get dunked on. I have to constantly clean off these screens because they're smudge magnets. They might be OLED. They are definitely smudge magnets. Ugh. Now for all these 3DS games, we're running at 4x resolution, and that chip can handle it easily. Here's just kind of the clunkiness here. You have to hold down R to fire missiles, and it's just, your finger has very, very little space back here to rest. So you kind of have to hook and crook and hit that edge of the corner there. It's just, it's not comfortable. It's not very ergonomic at all. Let's try to free lock here. Hey, we did it. And as I'm playing it, can you hear like just the creaking and the groaning from this thing? It feels sturdy, like the magnets aren't going anywhere, but it's also kind of, I don't know. Some of it might be because it's a prototype, but I don't think so. I think it's just clunky. It's just clunky. Oh, and I tried to exit out, and now it thinks it's sideways up here for some reason. What? How? Whatever. Beyond your 4X 3DS, you could also play Switch, PS3, super upscaled PS2 or GameCube. I have this running at 4x resolution. And whatever you can max out on Android, you can pretty much... What are you doing? However far you can max out an emulator on Android, you can pretty much do it on here. It also goes for Android games. You can play a ton of Android games on here, but all of that power, and even the OLED screen, are kind of meh, because the ergonomics are super mediocre. I would much rather have something purpose-built to be a widescreen candy bar, like the Retroid Pocket 5, or something designed to be a clamshell, like the Flip 2, or maybe even the new clamshells coming from Ioneo and AYN, which brings me to my next point, and probably almost certainly the most damning point for the OneXSugar. I've been messing with this thing for 2 weeks now, trying to see if maybe I'm missing something, you know? Despite what you may think, I'm not perfect, I miss stuff, but I'm really glad I did wait. Because in that time, we've had 2 new launches that basically kill the OneXSugar, at least as a dual screen device. These are the Thor and the Pocket DS. The higher end Thor models come with a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, and it's between $350 and $430 depending on RAM. The Pocket DS has the same G3x Gen 2 as the OneXSugar here, but it's $400 to $500 depending on how much RAM you want. Now, neither of these are in people's hands yet, so we don't know if there's going to be massive hardware issues with the hinges or the screens or anything, but if those hinges and screens do hold up, you're looking at about $100 to $200 cheaper with either the same SoC or a highly optimized Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, which is already more power than you probably ever are going to need. I mean, maybe you want to go crazy with Win later, but let's be honest. You're probably okay with that Odin 2 chipset. I think in a vacuum, the OneXSugar could have worked. It would still have issues. It'd still have all the issues I talked about, ergonomics and just the overall clunkiness of it. But it would be the only game in town, so you'd probably ignore them. But now you got two competitors who are delivering the same performance with the Pocket DS, or at least close to the same performance with the Thor, but at far less of a cost. I cannot see a situation where someone would want to buy the OneXSugar instead of one of those two options. I mean, people are nuts. There might be some of you out there that are saying, yeah, I would totally buy this. But I don't think you could rationally make the argument for this guy over the Thor or the Pocket DS. Well, Gary, the clock on the wall says it's time for What Did We Learn? And we learned that I was not happy with the OneXSugar here. It's a cool idea. It has some good innovations here, like how the power and the volume buttons turn off when you switch modes. But it really doesn't work as a complete device. It's a jack of all trades, and it's a master of none. Like I just said, in a world where the Thor or the Pocket DS didn't exist, people might overlook the issues. But we don't live in that world. We've got a transformer just for the sake of being a transformer. I feel like this thing is on the verge of turning into a robotic pterodactyl and flying back to a giant boombox robot. Huh? But I mean, hey, maybe you like Transformers. Maybe you want to reward innovation for innovation's sake. And if that's the case, then you might like this device. I've seen a couple of reviews where people did like it, so I guess it could happen. I don't like it. I'm going to ask those people some questions at CES, like, why did you like this? Because the OneXSugar is just not for me. I'm going to wait for my Thor to show up. When I got the Flip 2, I said that if they put the Odin 2 guts inside of it, it would be endgame for me. And I think someone must have been listening. Or I guess maybe it was just an obvious move. I don't want to get narcissistic delusions of grandeur here. But if you do share in my delusions and you want to see more, remember to like and subscribe and all that jazz. We're slowly picking up momentum as we approach 100,000 subs. So get in on the ground floor before I become the next Mr. Beast, huh? See what I was saying about delusions? Did you get that joke, Gary? Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.